It was a quiet night over the sleepy town of Ashbourne, England, the kind of night where every street lamp flickers faintly and the wind whispers through the old oaks lining the cobbled streets. But this night was different. A strange, pulsing light cut through the darkness, hovering just above the distant hills. At first, most residents dismissed it as a trick of the fog or a reflection from an airplane, yet those who dared to look closer felt a chill run down their spines. Something they knew instinctively was not of this world. In a modest observatory perched atop the highest hill, Professor Jonathan Clark, a leading astrophysicist and a lifelong believer in extraterrestrial life, stared through his telescope. His hands trembled as he adjusted the focus, trying to comprehend the sight before him. The object was enormous, disc-shaped, and emitted a soft blue glow that pulsed rhythmically, almost as if it had a heartbeat. Clark's mind raced. It can't be a drone. Not anything built by humans, he murmured, noting the perfect symmetry and smooth metallic surface. This was something else entirely. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic in the quiet suburbs of Virginia, Emma Lewis, a young journalist with an insatiable curiosity for the unexplained, was editing her notes on UFO sightings in her latest investigative piece. She had spent months following government documents, eyewitness accounts, and leaked footage, yet nothing in her research prepared her for the live stream she received from a friend in England. The camera showed the same pulsing blue light hovering over the hills. Emma's heart skipped a beat. "This isn't just a sighting anymore," she whispered. "It's an event." By midnight, social media began to buzz. Clips of the mysterious craft started circulating, each video sharper and more undeniable than the last. Eyewitnesses described a strange hum that seemed to vibrate through the air, a frequency so low that it was felt more than heard. Some reported seeing smaller, darting lights moving around the main object, almost like scouts or drones inspecting the area. Governments remained silent as usual, but private agencies and independent researchers began mobilizing. Everyone was desperate to understand. Was this a visitation, a warning, or something far beyond human comprehension? Back in Ashbourne, Clark had gathered a team of amateur astronomers and scientists, all driven by a mix of fear and fascination. They observed patterns emerging from the craft's movements, an intelligence precise and deliberate. The object wasn't static, it shifted position, hovered momentarily, then darted across the sky with unimaginable speed. Every maneuver defied known physics. Clark's mind couldn't escape one terrifying thought: if these beings could travel such distances, they were far ahead of humanity in every sense. Emma, meanwhile, decided to travel to England, sensing that this was her story, the one that could redefine human understanding of life beyond Earth. Upon arrival, she joined Clark's team. There was a shared energy among the group, a mix of scientific curiosity and primal fear. Conversations ranged from theoretical propulsion systems to questions about the beings' intentions. Could they be observing us, studying us as we study ants in a lab? Or were they more benign, merely passing through the solar system, indifferent to human existence? The night deepened and the lights in the sky became more pronounced. Residents reported seeing shapes within the glow, forms that hinted at structures, possibly spacecraft, unlike anything ever documented. Some described windows or portals where shadows moved as if alive. Clark recorded every moment, ensuring nothing was left to memory alone. Emma captured the human reactions, the awe and fear, the whispers of history being witnessed firsthand. They both understood that whatever this was, it wasn't just a fleeting spectacle, it was a message, but the meaning was still hidden, locked in the unknown. By dawn, the craft disappeared as suddenly as it had arrived, leaving only traces in the sky and a town buzzing with disbelief and wonder. Clark and Emma stayed behind, analyzing every detail, every movement captured on film. Patterns suggested intent, perhaps communication. The energy fields recorded were unlike anything human technology could generate. For Emma, this was more than a story, it was a revelation. For Clark, it was a call to action. Humanity was no longer alone, and the questions about what lay beyond the stars had just become urgent. As the first rays of sunlight touched Ashbourne, a new day began, but nothing felt ordinary. The town carried a secret now, a glimpse into a reality that challenged everything humans thought they knew. Somewhere out there, beyond the reach of Earth's atmosphere, intelligent life existed, and for reasons unknown, it had chosen to make its presence known. Clark and Emma knew this was only the beginning. And as they prepared for what would surely come next, the words of an ancient astronomer echoed in Clark's mind: "The universe is not silent, it waits for those who dare to listen." Days passed, yet the memory of that night in Ashbourne lingered like a shadow over the town. Clark and Emma were consumed by their research, reviewing every frame of the footage, analyzing the energy signatures, and discussing the patterns that hinted at deliberate communication. The world outside remained largely unaware, distracted by mundane affairs, but those who had witnessed the phenomenon knew that everything had changed. The scientists discovered something peculiar. The energy readings emitted by the craft were not random. They pulsed in sequences that resembled a code, a rhythm that suggested intelligence trying to communicate. Clark theorized that the pulses might correspond to mathematical patterns or even prime numbers, the universal language of logic. If we can decode it, he told Emma, we may finally understand why they are here. Meanwhile, Emma's articles began gaining traction online. Her vivid recounting of eyewitness testimonies combined with Clark's scientific analysis created waves of excitement among UFO enthusiasts, academics, and skeptics alike. The story crossed continents, igniting debates on major news outlets in London, New York, and Washington. Social media exploded with theories. Were these extraterrestrials explorers, messengers, or observers preparing for a larger arrival? Each speculation fueled the public's fascination, and the line between fear and curiosity blurred. Late one evening, as Clark recalibrated his instruments, the telescope's lens captured movement once again. A second craft, smaller and sleeker, darted across the sky at unimaginable speeds. Unlike the first, it was more deliberate in its approach, moving closer to the town, hovering low enough that Clark could make out faint silhouettes within its illuminated hull. Emma filmed every second, her hands trembling. "This isn't just a visitation anymore," she whispered. "It's an encounter." The townspeople of Ashbourne reacted with a mix of awe and panic. Some fled to safety, locking doors and drawing blinds. Others, unable to resist curiosity, watched from the streets, their faces illuminated by the eerie glow. Clark and Emma understood that this was a pivotal moment. Whatever intelligence piloted these crafts, it was observing humans closely, perhaps measuring our reactions. And if these beings were capable of interstellar travel, the implications were staggering. Humanity was no longer the dominant life form on its own planet, or perhaps in its own galaxy. As the night deepened, Clark noticed the smaller craft performing maneuvers that mirrored human gestures. It rotated in ways that seemed deliberate, almost as if it was acknowledging their presence. Emma speculated aloud, "Are they trying to communicate through movement, a universal gesture?" Clark nodded slowly, considering the possibility. Human languages might be irrelevant to them. They might rely on patterns, gestures, and energy signals far beyond our comprehension. Suddenly, the craft emitted a high-frequency sound, a resonance that made glass tremble and hair stand on end. Clark instinctively covered his ears while Emma noticed something even more remarkable. The light from the craft was shifting, forming symbols that resembled a complex language. It was unlike any alphabet known on Earth, an intricate interplay of curves, lines, and glowing nodes that pulsed in rhythm with the hum. Clark's mind raced to decode it. Every scientist and linguist he had ever consulted would struggle to comprehend this. The encounter lasted only a few hours, but by dawn the smaller craft vanished, leaving the larger object hovering silently on the horizon. Clark and Emma were left with questions and data, but no definitive answers. It was as if the visitors had chosen what to reveal and what to conceal. The town had witnessed something extraordinary, yet the deeper truths remained shrouded in mystery. In the following weeks, Clark and Emma began collaborating with international researchers. Experts in physics, linguistics, and quantum mechanics joined them remotely, attempting to make sense of the data. Each analysis opened new possibilities, yet the core mystery persisted. These were beings operating on a level far beyond human understanding, and their purpose that remained the ultimate enigma. Were they here to observe, guide, warn, or something else entirely? Meanwhile, the phenomenon began to affect the town in unexpected ways. People reported seeing strange auroras in the sky at random intervals, hearing whispers in frequencies beyond normal hearing, and experiencing brief moments of unexplained visions, glimpses of otherworldly landscapes, cities floating in space, and beings of light. Psychologists debated mass hysteria, but Clark and Emma knew that something extraordinary had truly touched the human experience. Ashbourne was becoming the epicenter of a transformation that could redefine reality itself. Emma's journalism shifted focus as she chronicled not only the physical evidence but the human responses, the wonder, fear, and curiosity. Clark, immersed in equations and recordings, understood that humanity was standing at the threshold of a new era. One night, as they both observed the horizon, a final pulse of light shot across the sky, faster than anything they had ever recorded. For a fleeting moment, Clark swore he saw a formation resembling a hand, as if the universe itself had extended a gesture of awareness. Emma captured it all, knowing that this footage would ignite imaginations worldwide. The realization was unavoidable. Humanity was no longer alone. The stars held secrets that were no longer distant, and for the first time, humans had undeniable proof that intelligent life had traversed the vast void of space to make contact, leaving behind both awe and a challenge. Clark and Emma looked at each other, the weight of discovery pressing upon them. Whatever came next, they understood one truth above all: the universe had begun a conversation and Earth had just been invited to respond. The weeks turned into months and the story of Ashbourne became a phenomenon. Documentaries, podcasts, and online forums dissected every second of Clark and Emma's footage. Governments quietly monitored the situation, sending scientific liaisons and intelligence officers under the guise of environmental research. Despite this, Clark and Emma remained the only ones with continuous first-hand observation. They had become the unofficial bridge between humanity and the unknown. One chilly evening, Clark noticed an anomaly in the energy signatures recorded from the larger craft. The signals were no longer random pulses, they had formed a repeating sequence resembling a pattern that suggested a message. It was subtle at first, almost imperceptible, but the repetition hinted at purpose. Clark's excitement was tempered by caution. Any misinterpretation could be catastrophic. "This isn't a coincidence," he muttered to Emma. "They are trying to tell us something." Meanwhile, Emma received a mysterious message via an anonymous email account, directing her to a secure forum. Inside, she found encrypted coordinates, charts, and patterns that mirrored the energy readings Clark had captured. The forum claimed to be run by independent researchers who had studied extraterrestrial signals for decades. The level of detail and the accuracy of the coordinates suggested that whoever, or whatever, had sent the message was far beyond ordinary human capability. Determined to decipher the message, Clark and Emma worked day and night. Using advanced algorithms, they began mapping the signals to potential mathematical constants, sequences, and even musical harmonics. Slowly, a vague structure emerged, an attempt at language, but not one of words. Instead, it was a symphony of patterns, an intricate choreography of light, sound, and energy. Clark theorized that the aliens might perceive reality differently, interpreting these signals as a universal interface. One night the sky erupted in light. The larger craft descended closer than ever before, hovering silently above Ashbourne. Its presence was overwhelming, filling the sky with a luminescence that seemed alive. Clark and Emma watched in awe as the surface of the craft shimmered and rippled, almost as if it were breathing. Then a sudden flash and a hum resonated through the town. Windows vibrated, car alarms blared, and the townspeople poured into the streets, witnessing a spectacle that defied comprehension. From the craft, a beam of light extended downward, forming shapes that resembled three-dimensional holographic symbols. They rotated and morphed, forming geometric structures that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Clark realized this was more than a message, it was an invitation. The symbols were a demonstration, a way to convey understanding without language, showing that these beings were capable of thought, creativity, and perhaps emotion. Emma, filming every second, noticed that the symbols responded to human movements. When she raised her hand, the shapes shifted, mimicking her gesture. The crowd gasped. Could it be possible that the craft was interacting with them, learning from their reactions, even attempting to communicate on a human level? Clark recorded everything, knowing that this would be the most important dataset in human history. In the following days, the town of Ashbourne transformed. People became more aware, attuned to subtle energy shifts and celestial movements. Scientists arrived, hoping to study the interaction, but Clark and Emma remained the central observers. They noticed an extraordinary effect. Some townspeople began to experience visions, vivid dreams of distant worlds, star systems, and alien civilizations. The phenomenon was not merely physical, it was cognitive, affecting the mind and perception. Late one evening, Clark and Emma decided to attempt a deliberate response. Using the patterns derived from the craft's signals, they created a sequence of lights and sounds designed to mimic the alien interface. When the sequence played, the larger craft paused, its surface shimmering in acknowledgement. Then slowly another beam projected downward, this time forming a holographic figure, humanoid yet ethereal, composed of luminous strands that glowed with every imaginable color. The figure raised a hand, mirroring Clark's gesture. A voice, or something like it, echoed in the minds of those present, not through sound but as direct perception. "We observe, we learn, we await understanding." The crowd was stunned into silence. Clark and Emma realized the magnitude. This was not merely a visitation, it was the beginning of an interspecies dialogue, a bridge being built across the vast emptiness of space. Over the next weeks, the interaction deepened. The craft demonstrated technologies far beyond human capability, materializing objects, manipulating gravitational fields, and even showing glimpses of distant planets. Clark hypothesized that these were teaching tools, ways to accelerate human understanding. Meanwhile, Emma documented the human reactions: awe, fear, reverence, and hope. People began to see themselves not as isolated beings, but as part of a larger, interconnected cosmos. Yet questions remained. Why Ashbourne? Why now? Clark suspected the aliens had been observing Earth for centuries, waiting for a moment when humanity was ready for contact. And what did understanding entail? Could humans ever truly grasp the consciousness and motivations of these extraterrestrial beings? One night, as Clark and Emma reviewed the latest signals, the craft emitted a sequence of lights that formed a spiral pattern in the sky. Clark interpreted it as a countdown, an event approaching. Emma, capturing every detail, knew the world would soon witness something unprecedented. The anticipation was electrifying. Humanity stood at the threshold of first contact, and Ashbourne had become the epicenter of a cosmic revelation. The night sky above Ashbourne had never looked so alive. The larger craft, now a permanent fixture hovering silently over the town, pulsed with ethereal light, casting long, wavering shadows across the streets. Clark and Emma, exhausted yet exhilarated, continued documenting every subtle change. They had learned to anticipate the craft's behaviors, but nothing could have prepared them for what was about to unfold. The holographic figure appeared again, this time larger, more defined. It spoke not with words but through visions projected directly into the minds of those present. Clark saw entire galaxies spinning in kaleidoscopic patterns, civilizations thriving under suns of unimaginable colors, and planets with landscapes that defied all human logic. Emma's recording device captured none of it. This communication was beyond cameras, beyond conventional recording. It was purely experiential. Suddenly the craft began to descend slowly. The townspeople, guided by Clark and Emma, formed a perimeter around it. A soft hum resonated through the air, vibrating through bones and hearts alike. Clark felt an overwhelming connection, a shared consciousness with every being in that area, as if the craft was linking their minds to a higher awareness. The alien figure gestured toward Clark and Emma, signaling them to approach. With trembling steps, Clark moved forward, sensing the weight of history pressing upon him. Emma followed closely, filming the surreal tableau. As they reached the perimeter, a beam of light enveloped them, lifting them slightly off the ground. Colors danced across their vision, shifting from violet to gold, blue to crimson, and back again in an endless loop. They were no longer on Earth as they knew it. They were somewhere in between reality and imagination. The figure projected a sequence of shapes, this time more intricate than ever, spirals within spirals, lattices of light, and patterns that seemed to fold in on themselves infinitely. Clark realized these were instructions, not for weapons, not for technology, but for understanding, for evolving human perception. The message was clear: humanity was being invited to participate in a larger cosmic ecosystem, to learn and grow, to expand consciousness beyond the limits of their biology. Suddenly, a second craft emerged from behind the first, identical in size and structure. The twin ships hovered in perfect synchrony, their lights interweaving into patterns that pulsed like the heartbeat of the universe itself. Clark and Emma understood that the first craft was a guide, and now a network, a signal, a call for humanity to awaken to the possibilities of interstellar communion. News of the phenomenon had spread beyond Ashbourne. Governments, scientists, and civilians around the world tuned in via Clark and Emma's live transmissions. Debate raged: were these benevolent explorers harbingers of doom, or entities operating on a level humanity could scarcely comprehend? Yet no matter the skepticism, the undeniable evidence was overwhelming. The crafts were real, intelligent, and aware of human consciousness. Over the following days, the interactions intensified. Clark and Emma learned to mimic the alien interface more precisely, using gestures, frequencies, and light sequences. The aliens responded with remarkable creativity, demonstrating concepts of time, energy, and space in forms that could only be described as poetic. One sequence projected an entire star system collapsing and rebirthing in moments, a visual allegory for creation and impermanence. The townspeople were not mere observers, they were participants in a profound dialogue between species. Then came the revelation that would change humanity forever. The crafts projected a vast, spiraling structure in the sky, a three-dimensional map of interstellar travel routes, energy hubs, and civilizations connected by unseen networks. Clark realized that this was an invitation not just to observe, but to join. Humanity had been given a choice: to remain isolated on their tiny planet, or to step into a larger, interconnected reality. Emma, documenting every moment, captured the expressions of awe, fear, and curiosity. Children stared in wonder, adults debated in hushed voices, and Clark felt the enormity of responsibility weigh on him. This was not a game, not a spectacle, it was a test, a threshold. The aliens were offering access to knowledge, technology, and understanding that could accelerate human evolution, but only if humans proved capable of cooperation, empathy, and comprehension. As the days passed, Clark and Emma noticed subtle changes in the town. People began communicating in ways that transcended language, responding to patterns and signals that seemed to echo the alien interface. Dreams became vivid, synchronized among multiple individuals, as if the collective consciousness was being attuned to the crafts. Clark realized that the boundary between individual and collective thought was blurring. Humanity was being initiated into a larger cognitive network. On the final night of the observation, both crafts aligned perfectly above Ashbourne. The light they projected merged into a singular beam that stretched into the heavens. Clark and Emma stood at the center, holding hands, feeling the full intensity of connection, perception, and knowledge. The alien figure appeared one last time, now fully radiant, projecting a message that transcended words. You are ready, step beyond or remain as you are. The choice is yours, humanity. A profound silence followed, as if the universe itself paused to await the response. Clark looked at Emma, then at the crowd of townspeople, realizing that the decision was not his alone. Humanity had been summoned, and the next chapter of existence would be written not by one person, but by the collective will to embrace the unknown. And then slowly the beam of light receded, the crafts rose, and the sky returned to normal, but nothing would ever be the same. Ashbourne, once an ordinary town, had become the birthplace of a new cosmic awareness. Clark and Emma understood that the journey had only just begun. The universe was no longer distant and unknowable, it was alive, conscious, and waiting for humanity to take the next step. The days after the departure of the twin crafts were unlike anything Ashbourne had ever experienced. The town seemed suspended between reality and possibility, its residents altered in subtle yet undeniable ways. Clark and Emma became the reluctant chroniclers of a transformation that was as much internal as it was external. People walked with a newfound awareness, conversations carried a depth that was almost telepathic, and dreams intertwined into shared visions that hinted at future events and hidden knowledge. Scientists who had traveled to Ashbourne to study the phenomena were baffled. Instruments that could measure electromagnetic fields, radiation, or sound captured anomalies that defied known physics. Devices malfunctioned in the presence of subtle energy flows, while digital screens displayed patterns that seemed intelligent, responsive, almost sentient. Clark and Emma documented everything meticulously, realizing that they were witnessing the first stages of human consciousness expanding to accommodate a cosmic network. The global reaction was intense. News channels, social media platforms, and scientific journals buzzed with speculation and awe. Some governments attempted to exert control, seeking to replicate or weaponize the alien technology. Others advocated caution, fearing that humanity was not yet ready for the knowledge that had been offered. Meanwhile, Clark and Emma continued to focus on Ashbourne, where the residents had already begun integrating the lessons imparted by the alien crafts. Children in particular displayed astonishing abilities. They drew patterns that, when examined mathematically, revealed complex geometric and energetic structures. Some seemed capable of sensing intentions, predicting minor events, and even communicating in ways that bypassed spoken language. Clark began to understand that the crafts had not merely transmitted information, they had catalyzed evolution, opening doors that would have otherwise remained closed for generations. Yet with enlightenment came challenges. Not everyone embraced the changes willingly. Fear, suspicion, and doubt crept into the hearts of some residents. Some rejected the visions, believing them to be hallucinations or manipulations. Tensions emerged between those who accepted the new reality and those who clung to the familiar, raising questions about whether humanity was ready to embrace the cosmic network fully. Clark and Emma found themselves mediators, guiding the town toward understanding rather than conflict. Weeks later, another phenomenon occurred. A subtle pulse radiated from the locations where the crafts had hovered, detectable only by those who had interacted directly with the aliens. Clark, Emma, and a small group of residents found themselves drawn to a hill outside the town. There under the stars, they witnessed what could only be described as a cosmic handshake, beams of light converging in intricate choreography, projecting visions of other civilizations, some thriving, others struggling, all connected in a vast, interstellar web. The pulse communicated not just data, but emotion, intention, and a sense of collective purpose. Clark realized that humanity was being tested not on intelligence alone, but on empathy, cooperation, and ethical awareness. The aliens had revealed possibilities but left the choices in human hands. Could humanity overcome greed, fear, and division to step into the broader network? The implications were staggering. Mastery of the physical world without mastery of consciousness would lead to disaster. The aliens were offering a blueprint for evolution, not domination. Emma, documenting everything, began creating a comprehensive record intended to educate future generations. Her footage captured the nuances of the alien interactions, the town's transformations, and the ethical dilemmas that accompanied this rapid expansion of perception. Clark understood that their role was no longer simply observers, they were custodians of a profound legacy, the first translators between humanity and the cosmic intelligence. Months passed and Ashbourne became a pilgrimage site. Scientists, spiritual seekers, and curious individuals from around the world came to witness the lingering effects of the alien contact. Clark and Emma guided them carefully, ensuring that the lessons were not distorted or misused. The town's collective consciousness had stabilized into a delicate balance, a fusion of human experience and alien insight. Then, without warning, a subtle ripple appeared in the night sky, not a full craft, not an intrusion, but a faint shimmer, as if the universe itself was testing readiness again. Clark felt a resonance deep within his consciousness, a call to action. Humanity had taken the first step, but the journey had only begun. The network was waiting, patient yet insistent, offering possibilities beyond imagination. In those moments, Clark and Emma understood the profound truth. The aliens had not arrived to conquer, instruct, or dominate. They had arrived to awaken, to invite humanity into a broader reality where knowledge, empathy, and consciousness were intertwined across the cosmos. The choice was clear, the path illuminated, yet the journey would demand courage, cooperation, and wisdom beyond what humans had ever required before. Ashbourne had changed forever, and so had humanity. The sky was no longer a distant, silent canvas, it was alive, resonating with the pulse of the universe, waiting for the next chapter to unfold. Clark and Emma stood together, looking upward, knowing that they had glimpsed not the end but the threshold of a new existence. A cosmic awakening had begun, and the possibilities were infinite. As the months turned into years, Ashbourne evolved into a hub of unprecedented learning and exploration. Clark and Emma had grown into leadership roles, not as rulers but as facilitators, guiding humanity's first steps toward integrating the alien knowledge into everyday life. The town, once quiet and isolated, became a living laboratory of consciousness, attracting not just scientists, but philosophers, artists, and visionaries from across the globe. Education transformed completely. Children no longer learned by rote memorization, they absorbed concepts through direct experience, enhanced perception, and shared dreams that connected them to the larger cosmic framework. Mathematics, physics, and biology were now taught alongside ethical reasoning, empathy exercises, and exercises designed to attune students to the subtle energies that the alien crafts had revealed. Clark marveled at how effortlessly the young minds adapted, forming solutions to problems that had baffled the greatest human intellects for centuries. Emma documented everything with meticulous precision. Her footage captured patterns of communication, energy flows, and visions of distant civilizations that had already integrated similar cosmic networks. She noticed that while the information was staggering, the true lesson was not technological mastery but harmony. Knowledge without wisdom could be catastrophic, as evidenced by brief historical crises that now seemed trivial compared to the cosmic scale of potential missteps. Around the world, other regions began reporting similar subtle anomalies. Pulses, visions, and unexplained phenomena appeared in places with a high concentration of human thought and creativity. Scientists speculated whether these were spontaneous events or the result of a growing resonance between humanity and the broader interstellar consciousness. Clark and Emma theorized that the aliens had seeded the Earth with potentialities, and now it was up to human society to activate them responsibly. A council was formed in Ashbourne, composed of representatives from multiple fields: science, spirituality, philosophy, and governance. Their purpose was to coordinate humanity's first conscious steps toward interstellar diplomacy. Clark found himself at the center of debates, balancing the excitement of discovery with the responsibility of restraint. The Council recognized that a single misstep could ripple across civilizations, creating tensions, misunderstandings, or even conflicts that humanity was not yet equipped to handle. During one quiet night under the stars, Clark and Emma witnessed a phenomenon that left them speechless. A vast structure of light appeared above the hill where the crafts had first hovered. Unlike the original ships, this formation was immense, fractal in nature, shifting patterns continuously. Clark realized it was a message, not in words or images, but in consciousness itself, a communication designed to be understood through thought, emotion, and intuition simultaneously. The message revealed glimpses of other civilizations, some thriving in cooperation, others teetering on the brink of self-destruction. Clark understood that humanity was being invited into a cosmic network, not as subjects or followers, but as equals who must prove their readiness. It was a test of collective maturity, ethical reasoning, and the ability to coexist peacefully while embracing radical evolution. Over time, Ashbourne became a blueprint for the world. Communities adopted similar approaches, merging technology with consciousness, integrating alien-inspired principles into governance, education, and daily life. Clark and Emma observed that humanity was beginning to shed old limitations, aggression decreased, cooperation became instinctual, and innovation accelerated at unprecedented rates. Yet they also recognized the fragility of this transformation. Human history was littered with examples of brilliance undermined by ego, fear, or greed. One particularly striking change was the way humans now perceived the universe itself. Space was no longer an abstract void but a living, interconnected web of possibilities. Clark found that he could sense subtle currents of energy emanating from distant stars. That intuition often outpaced even the most advanced instruments. Emma captured these moments on film, creating a record that would guide future generations in understanding the delicate balance between perception and reality. By the 10th year after the craft's departure, humanity had developed its first experimental interstellar missions, not weapons, not colonization efforts, but exploratory missions designed to communicate, exchange knowledge, and build alliances. Clark and Emma were involved at every level, ensuring that these missions prioritized ethics, empathy, and mutual understanding over conquest or exploitation. Each mission returned with subtle signs of resonance, signals, patterns, and energies that hinted at a broader galactic community patiently awaiting humanity's emergence. Despite these advancements, challenges remained. Humanity struggled with the temptation to misuse the knowledge gained, and Clark often found himself mediating conflicts that arose between differing interpretations of the alien principles. Some factions desired rapid expansion into space, while others argued for cautious introspection. Clark and Emma realized that this tension was a necessary part of evolution. Growth without conflict was impossible, but unchecked conflict could be catastrophic. The key was balance, the same lesson the crafts had imparted. Then one night a new phenomenon occurred. The twin pulses of light appeared once more, not hovering but weaving through the atmosphere, forming patterns that Clark instinctively recognized as coordinates, directions pointing toward a location far beyond the solar system. The council debated whether to send an exploratory team immediately or wait for further understanding. Clark and Emma, sensing urgency, argued that humanity had reached a point where action, tempered by wisdom, was essential. The decision was made. The first interstellar envoy, guided by principles of empathy, collaboration, and consciousness integration, departed Ashbourne. Clark and Emma watched as the vessel, unlike any conventional spacecraft, seemed to glide not through space but along the subtle currents of interstellar energy. It was a step not merely in distance but in evolution, a journey toward a network of civilizations where knowledge, ethics, and awareness were inseparable. As they stood together beneath the stars, Clark realized that humanity had entered a new era. The journey would be long, the challenges immense, but the potential was boundless. Ashbourne had been the catalyst, the point where humans first opened themselves to the universe, and now the cosmos itself awaited their engagement. Clark and Emma understood that the story was far from over. This was merely the beginning of humanity's place in a vast, conscious universe, a chapter that would define not just survival but the evolution of the soul of civilization itself. The interstellar envoy sent from Ashbourne became the first tangible bridge between humanity and the broader cosmic network. Clark and Emma, though remaining on Earth, were in constant communication through subtle resonance patterns, which allowed them to perceive the envoy's progress, challenges, and discoveries. Unlike conventional space exploration, this journey was not about conquering planets or extracting resources. It was a voyage of understanding, an attempt to weave humanity into a network of conscious civilizations that had long existed beyond the solar system. The envoy encountered its first contact with an alien civilization in a system dominated by luminous, gaseous worlds. The beings they met were unlike anything documented in human imagination, fluid in form, communicating through vibrations, color shifts, and shared emotional resonance. Traditional language was unnecessary, understanding emerged from direct perception of thought and feeling. Clark observed that humanity's previous reliance on words, symbols, and written communication was both limiting and liberating. The aliens taught the envoy to think in patterns, to experience knowledge as a living entity rather than a static fact. Back on Earth, Ashbourne thrived under the guidance of Clark, Emma, and the Council. Communities worldwide began integrating similar approaches, creating nodes of consciousness that resonated with each other across continents. Education, governance, and daily life were now influenced by principles that emphasized harmony, empathy, and mutual understanding. Humanity was slowly learning to balance its technological capabilities with ethical responsibility, a lesson crucial for survival in a universe where intelligence and consciousness coexisted in complex, interdependent webs. As the envoy continued its journey, new patterns began to emerge. Clark realized that the cosmos itself was structured like a vast network, where civilizations acted as nodes connected through shared energy and consciousness. Every action, thought, or choice within a civilization could ripple across the network, influencing distant worlds in ways both subtle and profound. The responsibility of participating in this system was immense. Humanity was no longer isolated. Every decision, from politics to personal ethics, had cosmic implications. Emma documented these phenomena meticulously, capturing not only the patterns themselves but also the human responses to them. She observed a profound shift in behavior. Fear, aggression, and ego-driven competition were increasingly replaced by collaboration, creativity, and a shared sense of purpose. The resonance of the alien network seemed to amplify human potential, allowing insight and innovation to flourish in ways previously unimaginable. Yet this power also carried risks. Clark and Emma were acutely aware that humanity's history of conflict could translate into catastrophic consequences if lessons of empathy and restraint were not fully internalized. The Envoy reported its first encounter with a civilization struggling to survive. The beings were advanced in technology but had failed to cultivate harmony within their society. Their energy systems were unstable, leading to conflicts and environmental collapse. Clark and the Council studied the patterns carefully, recognizing the similarities to human history. The lesson was clear: technological prowess alone could not guarantee survival or progress. Ethical reasoning, empathy, and the ability to coexist with others were paramount. Meanwhile, new phenomena on Earth hinted at a deeper connection. People began experiencing visions of distant worlds, dreams filled with unfamiliar landscapes, and insights that defied traditional logic. Clark realized that the alien crafts had done more than share technology. They had unlocked latent capacities within the human mind. These awakenings were uneven, sometimes profound, sometimes chaotic, but always pointing toward a deeper understanding of the universe. Humanity faced a choice: to continue as isolated entities clinging to old paradigms, or to embrace the interconnectedness revealed by the crafts and the envoy's journey. Clark and Emma advocated for the latter, guiding humanity with patience and wisdom. The Council emphasized experimentation and reflection, ensuring that new knowledge was integrated thoughtfully rather than exploited recklessly. The envoy eventually reached a vast interstellar assembly, a convergence of civilizations spanning light years, each with unique forms of consciousness and methods of communication. Clark and Emma observed the assembly through resonance, noting the complexity and beauty of these interactions. It was not a council of dominance or hierarchy, but a living network of mutual understanding. Each civilization contributed insights, experiences, and guidance, creating a tapestry of knowledge far beyond what humanity had imagined possible. The assembly recognized humanity as an emerging participant, curious and adaptable but still learning the principles of cosmic responsibility. Invitations were extended for direct interaction, allowing humans to exchange ideas, understand alien perspectives, and develop their own methods of contributing to the network. Clark realized that this was both an honor and a test, a measure of humanity's readiness to join a community that valued consciousness, ethics, and cooperation above all else. Back on Earth, Ashbourne became a beacon of hope and transformation. The town's influence expanded globally, inspiring communities to adopt similar practices. Education focused on emotional intelligence, ethical reasoning, and consciousness development. Governance emphasized collaboration and long-term thinking. Humanity was slowly transitioning from a species driven by survival and competition to one capable of reflection, cooperation, and cosmic awareness. Amid these changes, Clark and Emma continued their personal journey. They meditated beneath the stars, attuning themselves to subtle currents of energy, sensing the ebb and flow of consciousness throughout the solar system and beyond. Each insight revealed new possibilities and challenges, emphasizing that growth was never linear. Humanity's evolution depended not on shortcuts or immediate triumphs, but on the steady cultivation of wisdom, empathy, and awareness. Then one night a new pattern emerged in the sky, an intricate lattice of light and energy, pulsating in rhythms that resonated with human consciousness. Clark understood immediately: this was an invitation to a deeper level of interaction, a bridge between human perception and the cosmic network itself. The Council prepared for a new phase of exploration, combining interstellar missions with collective consciousness exercises on Earth. As humanity embarked on this next chapter, Clark reflected on the journey so far. From the first alien crafts hovering over Ashbourne to the Envoy's interstellar travels, every step had been a lesson in patience, restraint, and the transformative power of understanding. The universe was not merely a space to be conquered, but a living, conscious system in which humanity now had the opportunity and the responsibility to participate meaningfully. As the lattice of pulsating light continued to shimmer in the skies above Earth, Clark and Emma realized that humanity was being invited to participate directly in the cosmic network. It was not a physical journey but a shift of consciousness, a synchronization with interstellar patterns that connected life across countless worlds. People around the globe reported new perceptions, vivid dreams of distant planets, intuitive insights into alien civilizations, and an overwhelming sense of unity with all living beings. The Ashbourne Council became the coordinating hub for these experiences, guiding humanity through meditative and resonance-based exercises. It was as if the universe itself had extended an invitation to step beyond the limitations of space and time. Clark observed that the human mind, once bound by linear thinking, was now capable of perceiving multidimensional patterns and communicating in forms that transcended language. The Envoy's reports from distant star systems revealed astonishing revelations. Civilizations that had once been separated by light years were now communicating through a subtle web of energy, sharing knowledge and wisdom instantaneously. Clark realized that humanity's integration into this network was not merely symbolic, it was an active, participatory role in shaping cosmic consciousness. Every decision, thought, and intention on Earth could ripple across the galaxy, influencing civilizations and ecosystems far beyond human comprehension. Emma documented the rapid transformations taking place. Social structures evolved as communities embraced empathy, cooperation, and shared purpose. Conflicts that once seemed inevitable began to dissolve as people learned to perceive the consequences of their actions through the resonance of the network. Technology advanced not for domination or extraction, but to support understanding, healing, and connection. Human innovation became guided by principles of harmony with the cosmos. Then the envoy transmitted an unprecedented discovery, a civilization that had achieved a complete synthesis of consciousness and energy existing simultaneously across multiple dimensions. Their form defied human perception, appearing as streams of luminous energy that shifted and flowed with thought itself. Clark and Emma were awestruck. These beings demonstrated that evolution was not merely biological or technological but fundamentally conscious. Intelligence, empathy, and ethical awareness were the true measures of advancement. The Interstellar Assembly extended a formal invitation for humanity to participate in the Cosmic Council. Clark, Emma, and a select group of representatives prepared to engage directly, utilizing resonance patterns to project their consciousness across light years. The experience was overwhelming yet exhilarating. Earth's collective awareness merged with the network, allowing humans to perceive not only alien civilizations but also the intricate web of cause and effect connecting all life. Humanity faced profound challenges during this integration. Ego-driven impulses, historical traumas, and destructive patterns occasionally disrupted resonance, creating moments of tension within the network. Clark emphasized that these were not failures but essential lessons. Growth required confrontation with shadow aspects, acknowledgement of past mistakes, and conscious choice to act in harmony with the greater whole. As humans adapted, new abilities emerged. Telepathic understanding, instantaneous empathy, and perception of multidimensional structures became accessible to those attuned to the resonance. People began collaborating across nations in unprecedented ways, solving problems related to climate, resource distribution, and social inequality with insights derived from the interstellar network. It was as if humanity had unlocked a higher-order intelligence, not imposed from outside but cultivated from within. The Envoy returned from its final journey, carrying data and experiences that reshaped human understanding of existence. Clark and Emma realized that the universe was not merely a collection of physical phenomena, but a living, conscious system where each civilization played an essential role. Humanity, once confined to a single planet, was now a conscious participant in a vast, interdependent cosmic ecosystem. Earth itself responded. Planetary systems stabilized as collective human intentions aligned with natural cycles. Energies previously considered random or chaotic revealed patterns of intelligence and purpose. People reported sensations of unity not just with each other but with the entire planet, the solar system, and the surrounding stars. Humanity was awakening to the profound responsibility of co-creating with the cosmos. Clarke reflected on the journey from the first alien crafts above Ashbourne to the full integration of humanity into the cosmic network. Every encounter, discovery, and challenge had prepared humanity for this moment. It was a story of curiosity, empathy, restraint, and courage, a story that transcended individual achievement and became a collective testament to conscious evolution. In the final resonance session, Clarke, Emma, and representatives of Earth projected their awareness into the cosmic lattice. The experience was beyond description. Colors, patterns, emotions, and thoughts flowed as one, a symphony of consciousness spanning light years. Humanity was no longer isolated, it was part of an interconnected web of life, intelligence, and purpose. The universe was alive in a way that had always existed but was now directly accessible to human perception. As the session ended, Clarke understood a fundamental truth. The journey was not about conquering the stars or mastering technology. It was about mastering the self, cultivating empathy, and participating responsibly in the web of existence. Humanity had the potential to be a force for creation, understanding, and harmony on a cosmic scale. Emma, gazing at the night sky, whispered, "We are finally home." And for the first time, humanity felt it, not as a planet-bound species, but as conscious participants in a living, vibrant universe, forever connected to the stars, the civilizations beyond, and each other. The story of Ashbourne, the alien crafts, and the interstellar envoy became legend, not because of spectacle or conquest, but because it marked the awakening of a species to its true cosmic purpose. Humanity had stepped into the light of awareness, forever changed and ready to explore not just space but the boundless realms of consciousness itself. In the weeks following the first full integration with the cosmic network, Earth experienced subtle yet profound changes. Cities were quieter in some ways, not because people were absent, but because their priorities shifted. The rush of daily competition gave way to collaboration, conversation, and creative exploration. Children who had once been bound by rigid educational structures now learned intuitively through resonance exercises, absorbing knowledge directly from the collective consciousness. Clarke and Emma observed that technology became a natural extension of human awareness rather than a tool for control. Renewable energy sources thrived as humanity began to understand the intricate interdependencies between planetary systems. Pollution levels dropped, not merely because of regulation, but because individuals began to perceive the consequences of every action on a planetary scale. Decisions that once seemed minor, turning off a light, planting a tree, or conserving water, were now recognized as threads in the vast web of cosmic balance. Global leadership underwent a transformation as well. Political boundaries became less rigid, replaced by networks of cooperative councils. The Ashbourne model inspired a worldwide approach to governance, representative yet deeply interconnected, allowing local cultures to flourish while aligning with global sustainability. Diplomacy was guided not by power or profit but by empathy and long-term vision. Meanwhile, the envoy continued to transmit updates from distant star systems. Clarke received messages describing civilizations thriving in harmony with their planets, using energy not as a resource to exploit, but as a medium to communicate, heal, and expand consciousness. Human scientists began to study these systems, not to dominate, but to understand how intelligent life could thrive in diverse environments. Emma initiated a series of global consciousness workshops. Participants reported vivid experiences of interconnectedness, perceiving life across different worlds simultaneously. Artists found themselves painting visions of alien landscapes that were not mere imagination, but impressions from other consciousnesses within the network. Musicians composed symphonies that resonated across frequencies unknown to conventional instruments, evoking emotions that unified entire communities. Cultural expression evolved dramatically. Literature, art, and music became vehicles for transmitting collective understanding rather than individual perspectives. Humanity's stories expanded beyond Earth, weaving narratives that included distant civilizations, energy forms, and dimensions previously inaccessible. Schools of thought emerged that explored ethics, philosophy, and science as unified disciplines, guided by resonance and empathy rather than competition. Yet the transformation was not without its challenges. Some individuals struggled to let go of ego-driven desires and old patterns of fear or control. Clarke realized that evolution required patience. Change could not be forced, it had to be cultivated through understanding, practice, and sometimes failure. Shadow aspects, greed, mistrust, aggression, occasionally threatened the harmony of the network, but each disruption became an opportunity for learning and recalibration. The envoy revealed a startling insight. Some civilizations had maintained peace and integration for millennia, yet they constantly evolved to prevent stagnation. Clarke understood that humanity's journey was ongoing, not a single achievement. The cosmic network was a living system, requiring active participation, adaptation, and care. As Earth embraced its new role, Clarke, Emma, and their colleagues prepared for the next phase, interstellar diplomacy. The Cosmic Council had invited humanity to participate in a forum that would shape galactic policies, ethical guidelines, and collaborative projects across civilizations. Humans were to contribute not only knowledge and creativity, but also empathy, compassion, and ethical insight. The first Interstellar Council meeting was unlike anything previously imagined. Clarke and Emma, projecting their consciousness across light years, found themselves surrounded by luminous beings whose forms defied physical understanding. Their communication was not through words but through shared perception, energy patterns, and thought resonances. Each being contributed its unique perspective, creating a dynamic, multidimensional dialogue. Humanity's contribution was distinct, grounded in experience of material life yet now capable of perceiving multidimensional resonance. Clarke realized that Earth's role was as both observer and participant, bridging the wisdom of physical existence with the subtle intelligence of higher dimensional awareness. The Council welcomed this perspective, acknowledging humanity's potential to integrate practical solutions with ethical and cosmic considerations. Over time, collaborative projects emerged. Knowledge of sustainable energy systems, ecological restoration, and consciousness development was shared freely. Humanity assisted distant civilizations facing environmental challenges while receiving guidance on balancing technological advancement with ethical integrity. Earth became a hub of interstellar learning, not through conquest but through connection. The story of Ashbourne, the alien crafts, and the envoy evolved into a broader narrative of humanity's awakening. Clarke and Emma continued to document the journey, ensuring that future generations could understand the responsibilities, insights, and experiences gained. The world was not perfect, disruptions and conflicts still occurred, but the trajectory was unmistakable. Humanity had embraced its role as a conscious, ethical participant in the cosmos. Every night as Clarke gazed at the stars, he felt a deep sense of purpose. The universe was alive, vibrant, and aware, and humans were no longer passive observers. They were active co-creators capable of influencing life across planets, galaxies, and dimensions. The journey that began with the mysterious crafts above Ashbourne had led to a profound awakening, one that would continue evolving for generations to come. Years passed, and humanity's transformation solidified. Earth had become a nexus of interstellar knowledge, creativity, and consciousness. The once isolated continents were now deeply interconnected through energy networks, communication systems, and collective projects that transcended language, culture, and even biology. Humanity had not abandoned its individuality, but it had learned to integrate personal experience into a larger, harmonious whole. Clarke reflected on the journey from the first sightings of the crafts over Ashbourne to the active participation in interstellar councils. The lessons learned were profound. Knowledge alone was insufficient without empathy, technology without ethics led to imbalance, and evolution required both patience and courage. Humans had gained not only access to alien wisdom, but also a deeper understanding of themselves. Emma led ongoing initiatives in education, art, and science, ensuring that children born in this era would grow up perceiving themselves as citizens of a vast, conscious cosmos. Schools no longer taught in isolation but connected students to other planetary civilizations, allowing them to observe ecosystems, cultures, and technologies directly. Imagination and intuition became as critical as mathematics and literature. Science had also evolved beyond its previous boundaries. Humans explored not only physical space but consciousness itself. Energy-based communication, multidimensional navigation, and resonance technologies were commonplace. Experiments that once seemed fantastical, such as shared dreams across planets or real-time interstellar collaboration, were now routine. Clarke often found himself participating in thought experiments with beings from galaxies millions of light years away, testing ideas that could transform entire ecosystems. Cultural exchange became the lifeblood of human civilization. Artists, writers, and philosophers collaborated with alien counterparts, creating works that were simultaneously educational, inspiring, and transformative. Music no longer had boundaries. Symphonies now included frequencies that resonated across dimensions, affecting consciousness in ways previously unimaginable. Literature wove together stories from countless worlds, creating a living archive of interstellar experience. Yet as humans expanded their reach, they never lost sight of Earth. Planetary stewardship remained central to every decision. Forests, oceans, and atmospheric systems were meticulously monitored and cared for, not merely for survival, but as an ethical responsibility to the planet that had nurtured humanity. Clarke often thought about the irony. A species that once exploited its home now served as its guardian, guided by wisdom gleaned from civilizations far older and more advanced. Interstellar diplomacy matured into an intricate, multidimensional practice. Conflicts were rare but managed with extraordinary nuance. Clarke observed that even disagreement had evolved. Debates were now conducted through resonance patterns, allowing each participant to fully experience the perspective of the other. This level of understanding minimized aggression and fostered collaboration. Humans became valued not for their technological might, but for their capacity for empathy and ethical reasoning. As Clarke and Emma looked toward the future, they realized that humanity's journey was just beginning. The cosmic network was infinite, full of civilizations still hidden, energies yet unexplored, and consciousness waiting to be understood. Earth had become a teacher as well as a student, sharing its lessons while learning from countless other beings. The mysterious crafts over Ashbourne, once a source of fear and awe, had become symbols of awakening. They reminded humanity that the universe was alive, conscious, and always evolving. Clarke often stared at the night sky, sensing the subtle hum of life, the resonance of countless civilizations, and the potential of humanity yet to be realized. Finally, humanity understood that the journey was not about conquest or accumulation of power, but about connection, creation, and consciousness. Every action, from planting a tree to communicating with a distant alien, carried weight. Every decision had ripples across dimensions, galaxies, and timelines. Humans had become co-creators in a vast, living cosmos, responsible for nurturing life, fostering understanding, and expanding awareness. Clarke, Emma, and the generations that followed embraced this responsibility with courage and humility. The universe had opened its doors not as a playground or a prize, but as a collaborative space where intelligence, creativity, and empathy converged. Humanity had stepped beyond the limitations of fear, ego, and isolation, becoming a species capable of shaping not just its own destiny, but the destiny of worlds across the cosmos. And so, as the stars shimmered with infinite possibilities, Earth pulsed with life, creativity, and awareness. Humanity's journey continued, an unbroken thread of curiosity, love, and wisdom woven into the tapestry of the universe. The story of Ashbourne, the crafts, and the cosmic awakening had concluded one chapter, but the narrative of humanity's role in the cosmos was only beginning, a story without end, alive in every thought, action, and heartbeat of every conscious being across the galaxies.